What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord Dr. Professor Dark Joker here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are traditional fans with opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece, episode 1150. So in this episode, so Vegapunk's message is still playing. You see different people react to it. You see, basically you had no, basically Nolan's descendant. The guy that that Straw Hats met, and those two like monkey pirates, whatever, who were like searching for the Sky Island, and they found well, they're searching for Shandia, then they Shandor, where, and then they ended up being Sky Island. See their reaction. They're inspired to dive again. Then you see some other pirates talk about finding treasure from the ancient civilization, figure out how to go. But of course, you have this discuss. Hey, we're going to need to buy submersible ships to go 200 meters down. And hey, at least someone's thinking that, and someone's thinking about, hey, there's treasure here to be found, which I agree, dude. It's there. I mean, yeah, it's there for the taking. Like it's like that is a great pirate era that you're gonna get anyway. So then the Straw Hats, of course, are still fighting. The five elders. Luffy's in his base form. He's not in Gear 5. So basically, they're all the giant pirates, Straw Hats. Bonnie, the Vegapunks. They're still alive. They're all trying to escape. And then mess is still going on. So you see, Sword reacting to Smoker calls Tashigi, asking where she's at. Basically, they're at Tashigi's at the hospital. Kobe's recovering. Basically, they're reacting to the message. They're like, there's some very uncomfortable truths that will come about the world government if whatever happens. Like, so Sword seems like, so if you watch the movie One Piece Red, it hints at Sword and Cyberpole do not like each other very much. It hints that, which I think that could be a hint for what could be to come in the final saga of conflict between Sword and like who is like kind of like your good Navy personnel, and Cyberpole, which is like the really evil ones. And of course, then you have Aikanu, who I think is kind of like or Sakazuki. He's not called Aikanu now because he's no longer an admiral. It's never been explained to my. I don't know if it's ever been explained why the admirals have to get aliases. Because I mean, there's some we know, like people know Sakazuki more as Aikanu than as Sakazuki, and Kuzan's Aokiji, Borsalino is Kizaru. I mean, he's still an admiral, so he's still called Kizaru. Anyway, they've never, for some reason, explained why the admirals have to take aliases. It's probably something to do with them being targets or something to do with their families. Maybe like what the Naboo politicians have to do if they become royalty. Anyway, like this, of course, in Star Wars, blah blah. Blah. So anyway, so Sakazuki, in my opinion, is a wild card in all this. Like he obviously is pissed about Vegapunk blabbing about the Void Century. He doesn't want out. As far as his motivations, based on the manga, like based on the manga, like when you look at the post time skip stuff, he is kind of a wild card in all this in the final saga. Like, cause like his motivations. I mean, we saw his reaction last, like I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago. So he is Sakazuki's a wild card in all this. Like, you don't know. Like, he's probably not gonna side with Sword. That's gonna be Fujitora, I think. Like here's why, because with what it's hinting at is potentially, like Kobe says, this could be a serious conclusion. Basically, What I think's gonna happen is there's gonna be a world government civil war that comes out of this. Like even within the Navy, you'll have at least two factions, at minimum two factions. You'll have you have the sword faction that I think will be basically Admiral Fujitora will basically be like the leader. Kobe I think will be kind of like the face of it. He's the hero because Garp is Garp would be in charge, but he's captured by Blackbeard, which given some of the manga stuff recently, that's gonna be interesting. You know, and people who know about the manga, what like they know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Anyway, so you're gonna have faction that's gonna be I think let you have Fujitora who's gonna lead it. You have Kobe. Um, I think Smoker will be involved. Like Tashigi, Helmeppo, um, Hibari, X Drake, Groose, Kujaku, um, now Kujaku could be interesting here. Like, Kujaku, and you also have Suru. So Vice Admiral Suru could probably be involved. She could be a member, and Sengoku could be interesting. Sengoku could be part of the Fujitora faction, so he could basically be like a fleet admiral again. Like you could have, so it's obviously interesting. Now, of course, you have the question of who's like, and you have Aikanu is definitely got a faction, whoever that is, and basically yeah, like we don't know who the hmm, like we don't know like who Aikanu is gonna sign, like where he's gonna lead his own faction or if he's just gonna be with the Celestial Dragons, both of which are possible. Because he hates Celestial Dragons. He basically started hating them a lot since becoming a fleet admiral. So we're getting a world government civil war, I think. Eventually, the manga hasn't shown one, at least not yet, to my knowledge. But we're gonna get one. So you're gonna have Sword that has a lot of leeway due to how they can conduct themselves, and basically you're gonna you're gonna see different moves going on. There's like conflicts gonna go all the way around. Like like with the manga was concerning one plot point that's going on off screen, off panel. Uh, there's probably gonna be a bunch of conflict going on. Of course, you have the Revolutionary Army. There's probably gonna be some flashbacks. It's gonna explain what the heck's going on outside of Elbath. And like so, of course, you have Celestial Dragons. Now you have of course you have the funeral, like the tree admiral, like the guy with like the tree power. Ryo Kugyu. You know, basically, he like who knows what or aka Aramaki, who knows what side he's on, like whether he will be with Aikanu or with the Celestial Dragons. And then yeah, so this could be there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff that comes from it. And then so the episode ends with Vegapunk saying a message. He says to those around the world who with the initial D. And once he says D, you see the five elders just reacting hard, like, all right, we're so they find the Iron Giant Emmet, and then like so Emmet's walking around, in reaction to Luffy turning to Gear 5, so he's trying to find Joy Boy. So they attack Emmet and knock him into the ocean. And that right as Vegapunk's about to say something about the D initial, the there's technical difficulties, and everyone was like, "Wait, what the frick's going on? What was he about to say?" So yeah, that was very interesting. I really like this episode. Um, Looking forward to the next one. The Elusive Samurai Chapter 227. So in this one, you have Kojiro and basically celebrate and Sheena celebrating like their wedding. So like so basically while everyone's celebrating, everyone's figuring out what to do after the battle. So Tokiyuki's group goes to Kanto. Since Takaji is likely returning to Kyo, so if he wants to target him, he wants to do it at a nearby location. So around like Izu. So yeah. So then basically so Tokiyuki I guess stops around Kamakura. When he leaves, he says goodbye to a lot of his allies. And there's a whole bit about Hosoka Takamoon and Muneyoshi Shino about basically about their friendship and all that. That's like randomly mentioned. And so Tokyo he returns to Kamakura, where reunites with Nida Yoshioki. And then yeah, so basically since Takaji won't return to a few days, everyone parties before gets leaving. And then you have yeah, you have Tokiyuki and and the Suwa, like they're reminiscing about, their time there. Like basically about their past. And then you have where basically Shizuku explains to Tokiyuki about that what caused the evil god to get what it was that so Ashikaga Itoki, who had a curse placed on his clan that basic in the form some demonic energy came across Takaji, and basically due to Takaji's like personality, then the demon's powers basically it came together and that drew in a bunch of divine power and made Takaji what he is. And basically now like the world will soon be returned to normal. So then, there, Takaji starts heading towards Kamakura. And then, so Nita leaves for Kawamura. Oh, well, he leaves like Kawamura invited him to his castle for the for a battle in Ashigara. Tokiyuki offers to help. Nita says no. He says Tokiyuki should spend some time with more time with his retainers. Basically, if someone die in battle, they'll regret like not spending more time together. Toki's like okay, but call him if he needs help. It's how he put basically. Nita's like okay, yeah, you too. Basically, you see all these goodbyes hinting that the end is coming. So obviously, the Southern Quartz forces they don't hold Kamakura or Kyo for very long, and basically there's like a bunch of fighting that starts dying down. Then Tokyo comes across the pine tree where he and Takaji played tag years ago. Basically, it's withered, and yeah. So then you see the last panel in the end. It says 1 year later, this story would come to an end. So 1353 is the year in history when Tokiyuki dies. Like that is historically what happens. He's killed in 1353. Like, basically hinting that this is hinting that we're about to get to a final arc, and obviously it was once we were reaching. So the day he is stated to have died is June 21st, 1353. His birth year is not known, so that's kind of why they made him as a kid. Starting now, because hey, we have some room and how to deal with it. But no, but basically, so historically, the way it goes is that for Tokiyuki, he's prob based on history, he is probably going to be around Sagami. Like that's probably around where he's going to be whenever the final like fights start. Basically, he's going to be in the Sagami province, and basically what happens. Here's what's happened in history. He's found by the Ashikaga forces, and he's beheaded. That is what happens to Tokiyuki. Like, and so basically, and there's a lot of stuff regarding like his alleged descendants, Toki's alleged descendants that obviously I think the manga is going to portray as being true. And then yeah, so this is going to be a big deal. So we are getting close to the final arc. It's 1353. Tokiyuki's if they're going to follow history, Tokiyuki's dying very soon. And how they're going to handle that because Takagi doesn't die till 1358. you know, it's gonna be interesting to see how they cover it. Are they gonna go an alternate history route, or are they gonna like actually follow history when it comes to that, and give some explanation as to what's gonna happen? Like, is it gonna have like a Red Dead like redemption like ending where you had in Red Dead Redemption, the main character gets killed, but then his son takes revenge at the end. Is that what they're gonna do? They're gonna have like the family take revenge, like his retainers, like take revenge of talking to something. That's probably the way they could go. Who knows? So I thought this was a really good chapter. Good way to set up like the end. Looking forward to the next chapter. Kagurabachi Chapter 101. So with the sword master, at risk of being released and all that. Basically, you still have the issues with the barrier. So one of the sorcerers containing the barrier, Hagiwara. He's the one for the Kaminabi. Basically due to like Survivor's Guild and due to like wanting to stop interference, he offers to have like Kaminabi kill him in order to basically end his sorcery on the barrier to where it will allow reinforcements to come in. So he asks Izuru to kill him. Now, Hakuri found another way to use his storehouse ability to transport Hagiwara to the storehouse dimension instead of killing him. And so what is that removed Hagiwara from the location, and it stopped Hagiwara from maintaining the barrier. And so there was a phone call. Since phone calls were blocked, phone call reaches Shiba, and then Shiba transported himself, Chihiro, and Samura to the battle. And then yeah, so now we're gonna see like obviously Chihiro's been out of the story for a little while, so now he and Samura are back in, and of course Samura's daughter. We didn't see her, but like a lot of stuff's picking up. So the big battle probably will see Chihiro fight the Swordmaster, which honestly will be freaking cool. But yeah, overall I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, Chapter 69. So this one, basically Team Protectors, as Shishido called them, basically is dealing with Sushiro and Kiyoshi, basically their faces being out there in the demon realm, to where basically they're like both like public enemies, like number one. So while this is going on, in Bub territory in Lulu's castle, so you see Gagsy, Hells, Lulu, basically arguing over who's gonna kill Harai, like kill Kiyoshi. And then, basically Bobo arrives, basically saying who's killing Kiyoshi. Basically everyone's like, all right, well, yeah, we'll let you handle it. And Hell's Above is like, yeah, that's probably what they're discussing. And so yeah, so basically everyone's trying to figure out how to deal with it. And so like yeah, so this is gonna be and basically Hitsugi is told that he's kind of like the team's trump card due to the fact that he's an exorcist that the demons know nothing about, which almost sounds like an insult. I mean, but yeah, so basically the invasion in Ross territory is going to be 2 days, and then yeah, so this should be interesting. So basically, what the plan is that the Exorcist will go after Lulu and Gaga, and Bubsy will, and basically Hellzebub will go after Bobo. And yeah, and that's the plan. Now, obviously, they're setting up Kiyoshi eventually fighting Bobo, which should look awesome. And so, Hellzebub gives Kiyoshi one of Asura Ross capes, and he asks him what his final moments were. But he says that he Roth used to be friends, but basically he got soft after I guess he got married, and like Roth got bored. Basically, of course, Roth was obsessed with battle, was concerned about dying alone, without having a friend to spar with. So Hellsbub asks, basically, he thanks Kiyoshi for basically going all out against Suroth and giving him a satisfying end. And he warns because if he keeps wearing the cloak, he'll be cursed. So yeah, so then like basically, so everyone prepares to go to do their respective missions, and then they head there. And so Shishido makes like a car using metal he's eaten. And so they end up at Lulu's castle. They crash into it. And so you see everyone in all the extras inside of Lulu's castle. So that's what set up the next big fight. So yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. You know, liked some of the humor stuff was funny. How basically they're developing Hellzebub's children. That's freaking cool. Like Bobo came in and just aura farmed and basically made his siblings just bow down in fear. It was freaking awesome, especially how like Gaga's powers were displayed as like really powerful. So yeah, I thought this was a really good chapter. We're looking forward to the next one. Let's see, The Witch, chapter 59. So this one, Jiki Shiron explains all the prophecies he saw of Minerva's death by Kizashi. Of course, also with the baby dying as well. And so everyone trying to figure out how to get Minerva out of there, and then how to prevent the death. So yeah, so everyone's concerned about how to deal with Kizashi. So while they're playing, so Chrono Weaver like has to like help distract Kizashi, and so basically they deal with the evacuations, and then Kizashi returns, and then yeah, so then it's revealed that someone was helping Kizashi. It's the guy who infiltrated the witch matinal association as a waiter. So you see Deskaris and Chrono were fighting Kizoshi and the fake waiter. So that's gonna be interesting. So you have Jiki Shiron and Gokuraku taking Minerva and Ichi away from the location. So obviously, so that's the next bit of it. So Jiki Shiron is like basically feeling some wear and tear for having to do so many prophecies at once. So that's gonna be interesting. I think I thought this was a good chapter. Liked how they're setting up all the fights. Looking forward to the next chapter. Odor of the Flame, chapter 27. So in this one, Odor and Philgia are talking about like stuff. So Philgia explains her past. So her like first partner was Surtur of the Black Branch. Basically, he was like a man fueled by duty, responsibility. Basically, he was there to fight for others. So he was fighting this evil king, and basically the only way to survive, he had his and Philgia's souls merged, but it took a heavy toll on him to where he couldn't fight again. And basically, Philgia is concerned about making the same mistake with Oder. Then while this is going on, you have Galerio the Spirit Horn, fighting all of like the elves and Odor's group. So you see everyone fighting. So of course Clario has like the water spirit. So yeah, so basically, so like the visuals for this fight are actually really cool with how like like the freaking ice demon is fighting all these people. It's actually freaking cool how the visuals are. And so yeah, so what? So then you have Kutin like he's trying to hit hit Clario, and then like he's missing, but then from with encouragement from the wind spirit, he's able to he gradually gains confidence. And yeah, so then back inside, so Oder wants to talk with Philia about his life before he met Philia. So it looks like we'll see some of more of Oder's backstory in the next chapter. So yeah, I liked it. I liked how they introduce you know all this stuff, showcasing like the new villain. Then you have showing okay, we see something with Philia's past user, and like obviously like we'll see some of Oder's backstory soon. I don't know how much there is. Like, but yeah, I thought this was a really good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Harukaze Mound, chapter 22. So in this one, so it's revealed that the conversation between Ibuki and the coach is about like his knee injury. Basically, like he hasn't mentally recovered from his knee injury. He's physically recovered, just not mentally recovered from it. Basically, how he was getting a bunch of scouts looking at him, and Sonya and Yuma. But then basically there was a bad collision. Yeah, like that they're in practice game that injured his meniscus and he was out for a while due to surgery and rehab. So he stopped seeing scouts, and then Yuma quit. So basically, with official games being a little over a month away, basically, Ibuki has to like deal with his injury and I guess mentally prepare. So Nagaharu tells him not to use everyone else's excuse and he should focus on his own development. So and then Yuma's there. So so basically what happens is yeah, it's funny how you have Yagahara Ibuki's banter during the whole concert. So Midori Yokogi, the coach, is like she kind of enjoys the bond between battery buddies as she calls it. It's freaking funny. And then then we see everyone like pack practice really starts picking up, and like so you have to hold the battery smaller, like well the diamond smaller to I guess help with their reaction time, and then Ishiori's like helping like I guess hit practice balls with them, help with their reflexes. Basically, the whole joke is how Midori is like basically very twisted how she thinks about coaching, and yeah, so basically they're preparing, obviously the bracket, and then the bracket comes out. So based on the bracket and the penalty, Hinazakura's first match is against a school named Kinugasa, and then if they win, they play shoes on in the second round. And then yeah, so basically, I guess like the teams, I guess drew lots for the matchups, and then yeah, so basically, so everyone's has prepared and they're prepared for the yeah. So then you see like the monthly high school baseball. I guess it's a magazine, so you have the lead editorial. They're talking about different teams, and then they're wondering who's going to be the good ones. You have Shishin, Gakusha, and then you have one. The report says the he's referring to Ibuki like the catcher who vanished and made a comeback. With the team that he scraped together. So basically, he says that he's interested in Hinazakura. So basically, July reaches and we have the National High School Baseball Championship in the East West Tokyo tournament in Japan, basically starting. So it looks like now we're getting to official games. So it looks like this could be like a long form series. Like the way this is going, it's like this could be like a long. I don't think it's gonna be like Haikyuu long. No, I don't think it's gonna get that far. But I think it looks like Harukaze Mound's gonna be a long um series. So I'm interested in how this tournament goes. Obviously first game. I'm interested in that. Looking forward to seeing that. That should be really good. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Gachiakuta episode 19. So in this one, so Zodal explains to Rudo that basically like the his gloves are, and so Zodal's coat, all those boots, and Rudo's gloves are all part of this thing called the Watchmen series. So like basically create by one user have significant amount of anima. So there's like a lot of power. Those who like already fulfilled their I guess goals with it, but if they keep it too long, they go insane, which explains why Almo's the way she is. You know, and like basically Rudo keeping his sanity is insane. Now the fact that Rudo does keep his sanity, well, I mean he's already pretty messed up. And so Rudo's wondering how Regto got one. And if you look at the visuals, it's heavily implied that Regto knew what the Watchmen series was. So like he gave the gloves to Rudo to I guess to help I guess with his wounds on on his arms, and like the way it's almost like he knows that about. I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's a big spoiler regarding the creator of the Watchmen series in the manga. Like if we get a season 2 of this show, which I hope we do, uh, this spoiler I believe will be discussed in season 2. I believe it's. I want to say like it's definitely one of the arcs after this trash storm one. And now what it's revealed that so Zodal is using wants to use the Watchmen series stuff to power the trash beast that everyone's inside so that they can get up to the sphere, take down the sphere. So then what's funny is so when all the other like raiders reveal that they're inside a like to the other clearers that they're inside a trash beast, everyone's like, "Oh, we're inside trash beast? All right." Then they start trying one destroy because they're like, "Hey, our job is to destroy trash beasts, so you know what we're doing." Dude, I remember that in the manga. I was like, "Frick yes!" Like, frick yes! Like, dude, and yeah, Zod try and make a new Watchmen type series, of course, failing. Now he learned some stuff through it, but he can't make a true Watchmen series. So how the original was made, who knows? Like the only thing the manga I think has revealed is that is the name of the person that made the Watchmen series. The anime will not get to it this season. What the name of that character is, and I will not spoil it because it is a big spoiler. And then yeah, so this is like yeah, so there's some questions with Recto now. Like when I read this chapter manga, I didn't notice how Recto's face looked. Like how they basically put a shadow over his eye when he gave Rudo the gloves. Like I didn't notice it then, but the anime, I was like, oh frick, he knows. He knows what these are. But yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. You know, obviously set up the last bit of fights where it's like, all right, let's just wreck this thing. It's like, let's go full fairy tale here and just destroy everything around us. So yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 11. So in this one, everyone's preparing for like the I guess the cultural exchange thing. So happens is you have Tsurugi and Maru like trying to find like an octopus to make the the like the like the Takopa. And so they meet this one guy there who explains that so obviously we know that octopuses have 8 tentacles, but there's like a special one called a Watcha octopus, basically some mutation. So it's born with 8 tentacles, but 7 of them wither, like they shrivel away. Basically, the logic behind why they're, I guess it's a good idea. Because that basically means all the nutrients and flavor that's it with distributed amongst 8 tentacles, it's all gonna be packed into one, and that's the logic. Which is why I guess a lot of them are partly why a lot of them are on the market to like eat. So then Tsurugi and Maru try to find this octopus, and Tsurugi gets stung by jellyfish. So like his face like looks very different. Like Maru had trouble recognizing him. And there's a whole bit of Yuka not wanting to tell Tsurugi about like her illness, basically because she doesn't want to get any special treatment. And yeah, so basically what's funny, so Maru gets a octopus and he like gets stung too. So then yeah, he and Tsurugi are there's comparison which ones are bigger, and then so the idea is we'll stretch them to see what like who's longer. So basically they're comparing sizes with octopuses. And so there's a whole big explain I guess in Rumelian culture all this only men are sorcerers. And basically apparently it's not that they're not allowed to, is that they don't wield, as Maru calls it, Rala Luca, or as humans call, which is what humans call cursed energy. So yeah, so basically like it's just yeah, a lot of the women just biologically aren't able to use the cursed energy is how it's explained. So it's not like they just don't want them. It's more like it's a biology thing. Yeah. So n- then while it's going, they're trying to like explain how figure out some things. And so then once they catch the octopus and all that, so then a lot of the final cooking is done. And it's funny you have like Kyoko Tomo, who's a Jutsu High nutritionist, trying to figure out what's. She meets a Dabura and gets and starts simping over him, and it's so freaking funny. So everyone starts eating, and then like there's a funny bit where one guy is like, "Hey, this might be." So someone recommended a way to do it is like have an arranged marriage between a human and a Rumelian. I was like, well, let's not do that. Let's take that time for it. Then once you see like you know once it's so funny once you see like Tomo like simp over Dabra, the guy who dismisses like, huh, that might actually be a possibility after all. It's so funny. Yeah, so then it seems like everything's gone well with cultural exchange, and then there's this guy named Boro appears, and there's tears coming from his third eye. I'm guessing it's a big deal. And apparently claims we saw some Japanese people kill a Callion. So that's gonna be interesting for next week. See how that goes. Like, did that happen, or was it framed? Who is the human? So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Tulsa King season 3, episode 9. So in this one, you have like an assassin named Russell Washington carrying out a hit in New Jersey, and he meets with Ray Renzetti, who asks him to assassinate Dwight. Even though Russell does not want to do it due to, I guess, some history he and Dwight have. And so Russell visits the Bread to Buck, and he explains to Dwight that Renzetti pay him to kill Dwight, but basically he says he doesn't want to do it. So Ray calls Russell about the hit. Russell says he won't do it. So Russell meets with Dwight, and then it says that now he knows that Dwight says he knows that Ray has hits planned for both of them. And so basically, yeah, so they find the assassins that are sent to kill them, and they go after them. And then Tyson has Bodhi help him, get a supply of ecstasy. You know, and basically like, but when they try, they're trying to make their own instead of trying to get a supplier, like a third party group. So then what happens is Tyson and Spence, they try to sell pills at a nightclub and they're caught by security. And Dwight offers to give Musso all the intel he got from Negan in exchange for a federal liquor license. And around when this is going, Dumbmeyer's losing some distribution deals. And then Dumbmeyer, like, basically pissed off about all that, has one of his men abduct Joanne. So yeah, obviously there's some setup here. So with Samuel Jackson, who played Russell Washington, basically, so there's a spell for Tulsa King called Nola King that's supposed to come soon, starring Samuel Jackson. And it was real that he was going to appear in this season to help set it up. And so, well, it's happened. So I basically going to give us some info on Russell Washington before giving him his own show. See, I like this episode. Like the dynamic between Sylvester Stallone and Samuel L. Jackson. That was interesting. And yeah, I liked all of it. I thought this was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. One Punch Man, season 3, episode 6. So this episode focuses mostly on the S class heroes as like they're being gathered, preparing for the attack on the Monster Association's base. And so basically, like a lot, it's a lot of setup. So you have like the meeting between all the S class heroes, and you have like basically the issue is that like so a lot of the S class heroes are they're very arrogant pricks. They're not necessarily very moral, but basically they can be they're able to be S class heroes because basically they can be dealt with. And like yeah, so and then so while this is going on, so Saitama only appears in like the end. So basically there's still also Gatos gets an upgrade. Basically all of Saitama's friends like they're prepared. They try to sneak in to the upcoming battle and Saitama's like in like a sewer system or something. But yeah, so the big fight's about to go down. So I thought this was I mean, as far as the overall episode, it's like it's so much setup. Yeah, it's very funny. And yeah, when you have a guy who can basically end a fight in one punch, you do have to do a lot of setup for it. I get that. But yeah, I thought this was a decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. But yeah, the animation is still bad. The animation has been the problem in seasons 2 and 3. Like it's just been the problem. Hmm. Yeah, but I will watch next week's episode. Gonron Egg Chapter 4. So in this one, Gonron and like the Prince Egg meet this resistance fighter named Makia, who's so they work with her to try to find yeah, trying to find the Drakark that runs the area. Um yeah, so basically so you have all this stuff. So Oma is the egg. So they're trying to find all like the stuff with so basically the female Drakark that's like taking over their area that gone wrong and Oma are at. Basically so like they're having to deal with that like that feeling before like they're able to be mastered their abilities. So it's gonna be interesting. Probably an interesting fight. But yeah, I thought this was overall a good chapter. Like the visuals, how they're saying this villain, like that. Like I thought the villain was cool. Like how they're saying up. Like I think this should be an interesting fight. So I thought this was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Mayor Kingstown, season 4, episode 4. So in this episode, so basically, so Ian is becoming very, desperate to do stuff because Evelyn's basically death of a SWAT officer, which could lead to a life sentence for him. And he talks to this guy Stevie about it, and basically he attacked Evelyn, basically to scare her, not to kill her, and Stevie's pissed off, but he's shocked by that admission. And then Mike learns that Merle Callahan, who's like a leader within the Aryan Brotherhood, is in the cell right next to Kyle in AdSeg. Even though Warden Hobbs promised that that would not be allowed to happen. And then, yeah, so then basically, and so Mike confirms that info with the help of a corrections officer named Cindy, who Mike is possibly screwing. And then he tells Mike tells Cindy to burn the list to keep himself safe. And then so Bunny orders an attack on a Colombian cartel leader named Roberto Cruz in the prison yard. And so there's like a big fight there. Now Cruz lives, and so that really hurts the tensions between like the different gangs. Then Frank Moses trying to gain power as as a gangster, and he tries to hire Bunny as part of his crew. And yeah, so basically, this is definitely an interesting episode. So obviously, a lot of stuff's picking up, like going out of control. So this could be setting up a lot of the rest of the season, like the big conflicts that could happen next few weeks within the show. So yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. The Mage Next Door, Chapter 3. So in this chapter, um, so Osagawa forms a consultation office to like do some odd jobs for like people, so that as a way to gain intel on mages. That's basically the main purpose of that is. So then you have this mage named Kazura Yobiko arrives. Basically, she was sent by the Divine Magus to help out Osagawa, and then like so it's revealed that she like she has issues like when it comes to using magic, even though she's from like a very prestige family amongst mages, and that's like an embarrassment for her and her family. And she wants to just find mages, and the three. So you have Osagawa, uh, Yobiko, and many mages. So they get requests. So then they basically start trying to go deal with that request. And like yeah, so then basically they're trying to deal with all that, do some requests, try to get intel. And then yeah, so then like this so you have this basically this robot monster thing arrives, so it doesn't do much, and that's one thing. So Yobiko like can't summon. Basically, her family's famous for summon magic, so can't do it very well. And so Osagawa tries to help calm her down, and that allows her to get better with summoning. And that actually does very well, so they're able to defeat their opponent. And yeah, I thought this was a good episode. Like how they introduced a new character, set up this, I guess, odd job service. Probably is a way to explain how some arcs start, which makes sense. So I thought this was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next A little good chapter or whatever. Looking forward to the next one. Landman season 2, episode 1. So in this one, so Cammy Miller takes over M-Tech since with the death of Monty, she's now sole owner, and then basically obviously some business partners are concerned about Cammy's leadership. They is considered change of control, which since Cammy's name was on the ownership documents and stuff before Monty's death, basically Tommy Norris says that yeah, no, it's not changing ownership because Cammy's name was already on the ownership documents. And then so Cammy does a speech where that basically screws up vacation for these two like basically trophy girlfriends, whatever, like who are trying to get some good vacation. She like does like to really hurt their vacation and how she does her speech during that whole luncheon, whatever. And then when there's having you have Cooper is he had the rights to like this area. Basically, there's a crew that's drilled for oil. They found oil where they could get 10 million per year out of that spot. So honestly, that's really good for Cooper, and and of course his girlfriend's son. So yeah, then you have this. So Ansley, the daughter, does an interview at TCU or Texas Christian University. Basically, so like her QB boyfriend from the first season, not the one she breaks up at the very beginning, but the one she that's local to Midland that she dates. Basically, he went to JUCO, and basically she doesn't want to date like a JUCO guy. She doesn't want to go to JUCO for a boyfriend. And then she wanted to go to Texas Tech, but she wanted to be a cheerleader. And basically, the reason she chose TCU is because so Texas Tech has a policy. This is one in the show. I have no idea if this is real life. No idea. Within the context of this show, Texas Tech has a policy that basically football players are not allowed to date cheerleaders. TCU does not have that policy. And so basically, Ansley Strip tells the person interviewing her that she went to TCU because she'll be allowed to date football players. She is like, she believes that very strongly that cheerleaders and football and like, football players should, couple up, conceive children who like are basically will look like the parents and basically have the athleticism that the parents had. Base and like the interviewer is like pissed off is like saying that like the fact that basically people could date whoever and all that basically and then so but she says that she normally would basically end any chance of Ansley from getting into TCU if it was her decision, but since they're only due to her grades and whatever stuff, I like the only requirement for her to get in is to basically show up for the interview, which she did. So she's basically accepted into TCU, although like reluctantly. And so the family gathers to celebrate, and also Tommy's ex-wife, who's the mother of Ansley and Cooper, Angela. So Angela, basically she makes some Achio a Pepe with a $2,800 white truffle to I guess to help make it more palatable or something. And then basically tensions are high because also you have the two guys who are like co-workers at Tommy who are just about the business and don't care about the fancy names. Like most people do not care about the fancy names and stuff. So yeah, so and basically like Angela wants to buy a house that's a big house, like 5 bedrooms stuff, a mansion that's like close to TCU. They gets to be close to Ainsley, and Tommy's like, no, like so yeah, so then so basically and there's the argument, and Tommy says that she says something about Angela's well basically she says something about like Tommy says something about Angela that pisses her off, and she starts like smashing plates, flipping tablecloths, stuff like that, and then basically while they're having like makeup sex right after, like within like a few minutes or something, Tommy receives a call saying that like his mother Dorothy had passed away, and then you have TL or Sam Elliott Doris, who's like Tommy's father, obviously gets the news. He's like upset because his wife died. I mean, they were probably married for a very long time. But yeah, I thought this was a really good, a great way to bring back the show. Like, it's gonna be very interesting to see about the rest of the season. Handles things. So yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. Look forward to the next one. Teen Ivory. So this is a movie that's about like cops searching for cartels, that are dealing fentanyl. So this is inspired by a lot of real life incidents regarding the fentanyl crisis that's in our nation, with the drugs, going across the border and stuff. So in this, the main character is Lane West, who's a narcotics officer in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Basically, he hit his partner. They're trying to you know they're trying to investigate, trying to find this cartel member named Ramon Garza, who like deals a lot of trade and basically smuggles people across the border. And then yeah, so what happens when he's smuggling this kid named Lago amongst like a bunch of people across the board? So there's some I guess AC issues with oxygen, so a bunch of them die. Lago's the only, and the only migrant, only like illegal immigrant that lives amongst that group. So, and you see like everyone, they're both those characters' families beforehand. It's meant to, I guess, humanize them, but it's like Ramon is a vicious cartel member. Like you can only humanize him so much. Now Lago, basically, I guess he becomes like a driver to help deliver like fentanyl and stuff. And then yeah, so while it's going, you have like some I guess conflict between the cartels, the basically Indian Brotherhood and the Irish mob. And so as far as the Irish mob, you have a guy named George Smiley Green, you know, is released from prison and he's hired by like the Indian Brotherhood, who's led by Holt Lightfeather from in prison to deal with some rivals. So yeah, and then uh George's uncle like is he gets involved, and then like he's arrested by Lane, and basically the uncle gives him some like Ramon's Garza's location, and then but then the partner gets killed. Well, he's mortally wounded, but he does die. And one thing's going on, you have the issue with Lane's son, Jack, who like basically problem child school, has missed a lot of days, basically to where he's about to gonna be held back. and Jack parties with his friends, with his girlfriend, basically. Like, and they just do drugs. Like, they got caught being high on weed and stuff. And then now Jack takes fentanyl with his girlfriend, like Colby, and gets to a point like where he's high and depressed. Or so they're in church, like basically Lane's wife, who's you know Jack's stepmother, basically wants Jack out of the house. And then so Jack crashes at his friends' places. There's like a big party. He and his girlfriend Colby, they go up to a room to well, have sex and get high on fentanyl. And then when Jack wakes up the next morning, Colby has died of an overdose. So he calls Lane about what happened, and that inspires him to get into rehab to clean himself up. And then yeah, so when it happens, so obviously things are now very personal for Lane, with his partner being in the hospital, basically dead, and his son being addicted. So then basically you know he leads the charge against Ramon Garza. So Garza gets injured. He tells Lago to leave, and basically, so Lago's not seeing against. We don't know what happens to him. He basically just runs off. So Ramon and his people, they're basically they're confronted by the cops, and basically leads to a big shootout. You know, Lane arrests, he arrests Ramon, and yeah, so basically, so I thought this was a really good movie. Good way to show how the fentanyl crisis can really affect people. How like obviously different conflicts between like different drug groups, and thought the protagonist, Lane was kind of cool. So yeah, I highly recommend this movie. It is very bleak. It's not necessarily a happy ending. Outside, obviously, Lane's son decided to go into rehab, take the step into recovery. So there is a happy ending for that character. But really, as far as the most part, it's not really a very happy story because when you take out one drug lord, there's obviously a very high chance of others rising up to you know take replace the the old drug lord. And yeah, so I thought this was a really good movie. I recommend watching it. Well, and that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.